So, game 2, Bel'Shir Vestige. Welcome back, ladies and gents. Best of 3 going on here, group stages. The first group. Bottom right hand location got Nightend, the Blue Protoss, currently up 1-0. Very standard, solid style in the last game. Had a little bit of fun sending zealots everywhere, taking out hatcheries. Of course, his opponent in the top left, the Red Zerg player Durpz, going for the Ling Infestor Ultra, kind of a weird style, but the composition looked good. He had good ideas. It just didn't end up working out in the long run. Bel'Shir Vestige, I feel like, is a good map for what he was trying last game. Whirlwind is so difficult because there's so many places the pylons can be. It can be very difficult to identify where they are and identify what your opponent is doing. What are your thoughts on the main differences between Bel'Shir and Whirlwind?
Well, Whirlwind for one thing is much more open map in general. The starting at the third base, it's gonna be wide open. It's also much larger. Obviously, it's a 4-player map. Wait, I think your overlay's on.
I'm changing. I keep forgetting.
Yeah. But Bel'Shir Vestige, on the other hand, it's a little bit more choky of a map. It's a map that has a lot of different avenues, so it's a great counter-attacking. It's also a fantastic map for all-ins, so I wouldn't be surprised if Nightend went for a 2-base all-in. Something like Blink, even Mortal all-ins, or just sentry-based play in general is great because there's a lot of chokes, and if you think about it, that's what force fields artificially do. So when there's already some ingrained in the terrain, it's like it's like using force fields without using them.
Right. No, that makes sense. No, what do you think is the general thoughts on Bel'Shir as a map, like as a whole? Like, it seems like a lot of pros are okay with it, right? Where it's not vetoed a lot,
Yeah. Well, a lot of pros have a lot of issues with 4-player maps not being forced cross positions because there's an element of luck from the very starting where you scout.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I personally tend to veto 4-player maps more often than not, even if it means leaving Bel'Shir Vestige.
Right.
I don't hate the map. I think it's okay, but I think that Protoss can benefit from this sort of play that I just mentioned, like very aggressive play. It limits certain unit compositions for Zerg, such as Swarmhost, for example. There being so many avenues for this to go. There's like 1,000 routes to get to one place on this map.
Yes.
And for that reason, locusts are not super effective because if you're sending your locust one way, your opponent can now always go the other way. So things like that, I guess, are to look for. Roach Hydra style for the same reason. For the same reasons I mentioned, this is not fantastic either. It's a very choky map against Colossus-based compositions, which are the usual thing. Is Roach Hydra, they don't fare too well in chokes. So I think it's a tough map, but it's, for example, great for Muta because Muta can bypass all of the terrain that otherwise units have to spiral around because it's so curvy and so there's so many paths.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Of course, with the trend of Protoss going for the Stargate openings, you have to be cautious of that as a Zerg, because I don't think going Muta is necessarily a wise decision if your opponent is opening Stargate. But if they open Robo or something else, it's definitely doable. And we're seeing a Dark Shrine opening here from Nightend.
It's a cute one too. This is a build that SOS used in against Sulky, actually, in the semifinals of GSL.
I remember.
And it's become pretty popular since. Like the Zerg basically has an overlord checking the 2 gases of the Protoss. That's one of the biggest tells that Zerg has always had. And now Nightend also has 2 sentries, so for the most part that's where his gas is, you would think. but he's actually going DTs. It's like so hard for the Cirque to scout. The only tell is pretty much that the gateways at the ramp go a little bit later, like say 40 to 50 seconds later, and that's because the Twilight Council also
Oh
costs
my
minerals
gosh.
that place it.
He
What?
just warped in 3 sentries to kill an Overlord.
What a crazy man.
I'm like trying to think about that in my mind. It's like such a mind game in a sense, but now he just doesn't have gases to build Dark Templar. He can make
Well,
2.
he'll have gas for 2 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to do a lot of damage. You know, like any damage at this point is gonna be pretty much crippling damage.
And seeing those 3 sentries as a Zerg, it's like, okay, there's a push coming on 2 bases. I'm scared. You're not necessarily thinking about detection, you know?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Oh,
Again, like
that's
the only
awesome.
tell. Yeah, the only tell that a Cirque player has is the timing of the gateways. It's really hard to scout for this
I need to use this more often. I need to use this build.
the Dark Shrine. Like, there's not an order that's ever gonna get there, really, right?
Yeah.
Not against the cautious Protoss. So it's pretty tough in a game of guessing to some extent. Sometimes you get a feeling and you gotta kind of follow it. Sports are relatively cheap.
Well, 3 DTs marching in. Will we see 3 hatcheries dead in this game like we did in the last game? No Overseers in production. DTs starting to swipe away. Immediately we see an Infestation Pit thrown down, a Spine, 2 Spines, and an Overseer. 2 Overseers. There we go. But now there's 6 DTs doing whatever they want right now.
Oh yeah. Nightend not even going for the lair there. But I mean, this is game ending damage. He's gonna get the 3rd, and he's already done a lot of damage in the main. This is tough.
Cool
Tough
build.
to go out like this. I kind of feel sorry for
Durpz.
Durpz.
He has 2 more matches, but I agree against Nightend. It's
Yeah, exactly. It's not so much go out of the tournament or anything like
Right.
that, but like you know, I'm guessing this was the match that he was looking forward to.
right.
You know, like being like, oh, I guess let's see how I match against Nightend. The Nightend cheats the shit out of.
There's the GG. Cool build. You know, that's a build. I'm gonna go watch that replay, and I'm just gonna think of things that Zerg can look for, because I feel like there has to be something that's very clear. You know,
Yeah,
it feels
really
like.
tough.
Sorry, go ahead.
If it's a build that's made to full sulky, I promise you it's
I will find it, cats. I will do it.
okay.
If it comes down to a timestamp that I'm looking for.
Well, yeah, it's just the gateways go down later.
Yeah.
That's like about it. It's
Because like that build was identical to the game before, except DTs were involved.
yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Like if it wasn't for the fact that they don't take the 2 gases at the expansion, it would be a lot easier for the Cirque to, you know, like be like, oh, there's your 2 gases.
Right.
You're teching up, and then it's like, go tech up. These are the options. But when you don't see those 2 gases, the last thing you're expecting is something like DTs. Then part of it is that the Dark Shrine got cheaper in gas, and people seem to forget that.
Yep.